and welcome to Co-ople Mode, a couple's opinion on gaming. I'm Matt.
And I'm Rose.
And we're back from the huge, monumentally big game of Baldur's Gate 3.
The little bit that I got to see.
Yes.
I think we should do Baldur's Gate week 3 and 4.
For Act 2 and 3, yeah. Baldur's Gate again.
Try to get to Act 2. And then the next 2 weeks after that, I'll try to get to Act 3.
Well, now you're just talking about we need to start a Baldur's Gate podcast where we just talk about Baldur's Gate every week. Guess what I did?
So we were fluffy white kitties again.
Yeah. And I scratched the goblin's eyes out.
Oh, I should have brought that up. My good friend Amanda did turn into a raven and blind a lot of enemies. And that was really, really helpful. Raven powers.
Yeah, Raven powers. So, I've been thinking about this because I know that you are going to still want to play some Baldur's Gate 3 here and there. So I essentially thought, let's get you playing a game where you can come in, play a little bit, play a half hour here, half hour there, easy to pick up and play, right?
You're being so nice to me.
So we're going to play the wonderful roguelike game, Hades.
Okay. I feel like I've heard of this.
You should have, because I played it a lot for a while.
Oh, so when I load it up, I'll be like, oh, yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah. We have it on the Switch. It was on Game Pass for a while. I don't think it is anymore, but this is a wonderful, very well-received roguelite action game.
Okay.
Based on Greek mythology, if the name Hades didn't give it away already. It was developed and published by Supergiant Games. Now, anybody else who's played a lot of different games will probably recognize them from games like Bastion, Transistor, and Pyre. Now, Bastion was really big back when it came out. Everyone was eating it up. Like it was very well received. It was a isometric view, which is also this game. And you had like a narrator that was narrating things as you were doing them and experiencing them, which was very interesting. And people were just eating it up. Like, it was fun. So just to highlight what Supergiant has done, the lowest Metacritic score on any game that they have made is 82.
That's really good.
And like it varies because they've released on different systems. You know, sometimes it varies. But Hades is sitting at a 93 Metacritic score for every system it's on.
That's
93.
really good.
Even across the board. It originally fully released in September of 2020 for Mac, PC, and Switch. They did have like 2 years of early access where they were really fine-tuning this.
Okay.
I'll talk about that a little more in a second. And then in August of 2021, they came out for PlayStation and Xbox consoles. So, I mean, it's been around for a minute now. So it had, like I said, 2-year-long access period, or really close to. Hades sold 700,000 copies during that time. And then 3 days of its official release, it sold an additional 300,000. So it went over 1 million, like right after it released. So that's actually pretty interesting. Like they were pretty consistent on how often they were selling. And because of the style of game, it actually like really attracted this huge speedrunning community.
Okay.
Which it was really funny. I think it was August 2023, there was a specific speed run which really achieved a bunch of attention from the media and the developers. He beat this game at the maximum difficulty, which was previously thought to be impossible.
Wow.
Yeah, this guy was like, he really did it really good. And I think if I remember right, it was in like 20 minutes or something like that. It
wasn't
nuts.
Dream, was it? Because that guy's a genius.
No.
Sorry, I'm just kidding.
This game was also nominated for tons of awards over the years it released. It won Best Indie Game from the Golden Joystick Awards. It was the Critics' Choice for the Joystick Awards. And for the Game Awards that year as well, it was nominated for Game of the Year, Best Game Direction, Best Narrative, Best Art Direction, Best Score and Music, Best Performance, for Logan Cunningham, which was a voice actor in this game.
Okay.
And it did win Best Indie, Best Action for that year for the Game Awards.
Wow.
Like, that's how many things it was nominated for, just to show how popular it was. It won the Best Game over in the British Academy Games Awards in 2021, won Best Game Design, Narrative, and Logan Cunningham got his Best Performer Supporting Role for that one over in Britain. It also won Game of the Year from the DICE Awards. Which is just nuts. What was really interesting looking through all this was it won the Nebula Award and the Hugo Award. One was for Best Game Writing and one was for Best Video Game. Now, the Hugo Award is generally a writer's award.
Oh, for story, basically?
Yeah,
in the
story
game
and narrative. So it was actually a special award they gave for this game.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yep.
You'd have to be super proud of that.
Yeah.
If your video game had that good of a story, that's really cool.
Yeah, it really is. I think it's how they went about doing the narrative, because depending on what you run across, what you experience in the game determines how much of the narrative you get and how much you learn. The gameplay alone promotes replayability. That's how roguelikes are, right?
Yes.
But the narrative also pushes that, because like, even if you beat the game once,
you didn't learn everything.
No, it's like beat it again. So you learn a little bit more. Like you actually advance like a story every time you beat it.
Interesting.
There is a sequels, Hades 2, that was just announced at the last Game Awards that we actually ended up watching in 2022. I won't talk too much about what that one's about before I talk about the Hades we're going to be playing. So let's we'll move on. But they are planning to do an early access period as well to really hone the game down, which is good. Like, it worked for them the first time, right? Why not do it again?
Right.
Developers are really taking the community and the consumers' opinions to heart. And if you have that game out there, people will tell you what they want. If you never help them in the development process, had them invested in it, then your game's going to come out. What can you do? You have to do so much work to fix the game after that point, right?
Well, I think especially when you're doing a sequel game, making sure that it's going in the direction that the players are actually going to want to play.
Yeah, what more do they actually want? Do they, they don't want just the same thing. They want the same thing plus something.
Kind of a do or die moment, right? Where the franchise could just keep building, or you totally kill it by making mistakes and doing things that players don't really care about. Nobody plays it, but it's dead.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm excited for it because I did get so much fun out of playing the first Hades. I really like I said before, I recently realized in the past 5 years or so about how much I love a roguelike game. And this one is the kind that I like the most, where, you have a buildup of strength during the run that you might lose on your next run, but you're also getting resources where you can make upgrades that are permanent between runs.
Ooh, delicious.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Just to name one thing off the bat is you can get lives per run. So you're allowed to die once per run. You'll resurrect right away, and then you can keep going. So you can upgrade how many times you can do that, or even how that goes about happening. As you get further in the game, you get new upgrades. So essentially, you're playing as Cerberus, who is a son of Hades, and he is trying to escape the underworld.
Okay.
And that's why it's a roguelite. The rooms will be different every time because the underworld is constantly shifting to keep people from escaping. So that they literally narratively explain why it's not the exact same thing every time you run through, right off the bat. And it just makes it so much fun because even though you will recognize the enemies and the bosses that you will fight, it also makes each playthrough slightly unique because you don't know what that next room is going to be 100%.
Sure. Do you play it enough where you have a pretty good memory of what it possibly is going to be, or is there enough variation there?
There's a lot of variation, especially in room sizes and shapes. You recognize, I don't want to say the tropes, but like essentially the different traps you'll come across, the different enemies. Like the enemies are specific to whichever layer of the underworld you're in at the time. Mm-hmm. So you will know what works against defeating certain enemies. Like you'll learn the enemy patterns, so that'll make it easier. But every so often you'll get a little tidbit thrown your way that'll mix things up or change things up. Just to talk about some of the development of this game, right after they previously released Pyre, which was the game they released before Hades, they were really wanted to develop a game and open up that development process to the players. And so they wanted to do an early access game. Well, during this time was when Epic Games was first opening up their game store. Because like Steam's the powerhouse of PC gaming, right? So Epic is like kind of second place. I mean, depending on who you talk to. But they were just kind of starting out. So they worked with Epic Games. They originally released it in early access on Epic Games, and to kind of help promote the Epic Games Store. And Epic was focusing on its content creators at the time. And they're like, Supergiant has made these really good games. They're trying this thing. Let's do it, right? Mm-hmm. So they wanted Supergiant Games. Like, we want this game to be a game for streamers to play. So, like, if people are showing our game on stream, it promotes our game, it promotes the Epic Game Stores, because that was the only place you could get it at first. Yep. And it worked well for both of them. And I think that was kind of just like an interesting little tidbit. Like, they both helped each other out in the beginning.
It's a very symbiotic relationship between gamers and games, streamers and games, I should say. I'm glad that they promoted that and wanted that, because I think that is a really good way to get your game out there, especially if you're a smaller game company.
Yeah. Yep. You know, you get help from them. They help you. Like, I mean, it really is like a platform is only as good as the games that are on it sometimes, right?
Yeah. I mean, if Epic Games, if you don't know what any of the games are like, if you've never heard anybody talk about it or play it or seen them play it, like, why would you dump money into it at all?
Yeah,
when you don't know if you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah. So for the setting of this game, Supergiant had originally considered like going back to worlds of previously games that they played. They've had a world where it was like kind of high fantasy. You're on these like sky islands. They had a world which was like future tech fantasy, where you have like this USB sword you're using. Like it. So they're like, oh, I don't know if that will fit this game we're making, until the creative director came on the idea of Greek mythology, like something he's always been interested in, which I get. I've always been very interested in Greek mythology myself. So originally they were going to call the game Minos, and with the hero Theseus as the player character trying to exit the ever-shifting mazes of Minos. Sure. That was the king, right? And like, yeah, that's a great idea for at first, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. So the mazes would work for a roguelike. They're ever shifting, they're ever changing. But when they were doing this, they found it really difficult to actually make branching narrative factors, right? Like, how can you have different story things happen when like it's all in this maze? Like, you're always stuck in this maze. Like, there's only so many people that you can use as a story factor. And they also kind of found Theseus was a little too generic. Like, he's very super he is kind of the generic hero. I'm strong, I'm smart, I'm handsome. Like, you know,
I do it all.
Yeah, I do everything. So,
yeah, I mean, character-wise is not the most interesting thing out there. Sure. A son of Hades sounds much more interesting.
Yeah.
Where you are immediately conflicted of, am I supposed to root for him? Why? Why should I root for him? Is he different than his father? How is he different? You want to know more right off the bat. Like, character development-wise, are you good? Yes.
So while they were researching more Greek myths for this game, right, for Minos at the time, they kind of discovered Hades was very underrepresented in a lot of the stories, because like they were scared of him. Like, Hades was kind of fear and death, and like he doesn't get really talked about a lot, not in a good light.
Kind of banished to
he
guard the dead, and
pretty much
out of sight, out of mind.
So
We don't talk about Bruno kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah, we don't talk about Bruno. So they're like, yeah, why don't we focus on this son of Hades trying to escape the underworld? And it was like a very easy shift for them to make. The creative director compared the gods as like a big dysfunctional family that we can see ourselves in. And that's a pretty accurate description of Greek mythology.
Yeah, it is.
It is a hyper dysfunctional family, but it is like a family in a world. It's like people can see pieces of that.
Yeah.
It depends on the family, but I can get where he's coming from with that. And he thought like that would really help sell the story and make fun little anecdotes of like Zagreus is trying to escape and Hades is like, okay, good luck. Like, you know, it's a family, like you do you, but it's not going to happen. Like, you know, it kind of leads to some of these funny moments between gods and stuff that when you hear them talk about each other, which is also very interesting. And the fact that even after they changed Theseus to Zagreus, they still kept Theseus in the game. He is in the game as a boss this time.
Okay.
So you actually end up fighting him at some point, which honestly is it took me a while to get past the fight because
I like that very much. That sounds much better, more interesting.
This is, the game's been out for a while, so this is the only spoiler thing I will do. When you run into him, you fight Theseus and the Minotaur. They are together, which is interesting because part of Theseus' lore is he defeated the Minotaur in the maze.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny that like, afterwards, after, you know, we died and we kind of became friends. Like we hang out. And I think that's just like, it's just a fun little touch that they added.
Or he spends the rest of eternity trying to hunt and kill the Minotaur.
I guess if you wanted to go that way. So like, and also
that would be hell.
Obviously all the Greek gods, like they're very fickle. They have their own personalities and things they go for. And the main way you end up communicating with them is during gameplay, you get boons from various gods. And that is, every run is different, which gods you will run across.
Ooh, this sounds so good already.
Yes.
I'm getting pumped.
So they'll like, here's the thing. You can't talk to them, but they can talk to you. So they'll be like, they will say things, here's a boon to help you out. And these boons give you certain bonuses. So like if you get a boon from Zeus, you will get like electrical damage added to certain attacks or to your dodge. Oh man, I cannot believe I just forgot the Greek god of wine. Starts with a D.
No,
Dionysus.
I was almost there.
We were so close. Teamwork. And he will have abilities that actually like intoxicate the enemies, so they you know, they get drunk. As well. Yeah. And it's so fun. They have so many different gods, and I'm not going to go over all of them because I want to wait and see what you run into.
I got to explore it. Ooh.
Yeah. But it makes it fun because you never know what ones you're going to get. And sometimes they will talk about each other either negatively or positively.
Yeah.
Or occasionally you will have a choice. And when you make a choice, it will tick off the other god and he'll send a wave of enemies to fight you while like attacks are happening.
Oh, I love this.
Why didn't you pick me? I'm much better. Yes. Like, you know, they're jealous.
They're so fickle.
Yeah, exactly. But like every time you play the game, all this narrative moves things forward. And as you get closer in your relationship to these various gods, like you pick their boons, you actually get like an equipable item eventually that will help you out through your gameplay. Just another thing to add that can be a permanent effect. Like these guys thought of so many cool things to make this gameplay fun. It is insane.
It sounds really, really good.
So here's a quick rundown. There are eventually 6 different weapons in the game, and you get to pick a weapon before you start your run. You start out with like a sword and shield, very typical Greek mythology kind of thing. You get a spear, you get a longbow, and I'm going to leave it at that. You unlock some more weapons after that, some interesting ones. But every weapon has a primary attack, a secondary attack, and then you always have a dash, which you can use to avoid damage and avoid enemies, and a basic magic attack. Now, this is where those boons I was talking about come into effect. Mm-hmm. You can get a boon to your primary attack, second attack, dash, and magic attack. So depending on who you pick, you can make interesting things. Like I had one where I would freeze enemies with one attack, and then another attack would shatter them and do extra damage because they were frozen already. So all these things can build off each other. You can even get a dual boon when people will work together, which is very interesting. And that's further on in the game. So I really appreciate the fact that they kind of simplified it in that fact. Here's 4 face buttons, 4 things you can do. Go at it.
Yep.
Just do it, and the enemy types are interesting. Like you learn, like, I can't just run up and slice these big guys. I got to kind of weaken them and come in and finish the job. Or there's hands that will grab you and like throw you around. It's very interesting, just basic enemies. And then you get into the bosses. And I'm only going to talk about the first bosses you run into. You run into the Furies. 3 Furies, but each time you're going to fight a different one, and each one's different. One's pretty dang crazy and bloodthirsty. Others are just doing their job, and others are just having fun. Like it's interesting that they flesh out each character you run into, and you die, you spawn back in the lobby area, you come walking out of this pool of blood like nothing ever happened. Time to go again.
Yeah.
But every time you're in this lobby, there's like a little cafe where like different mythological people are sitting. There's your buddy Cerberus is hanging out. You can go pet Cerberus because he loves you.
I suppose he would. Yeah.
Yeah. They pack so much interesting Greek mythology into this game, and the art is so well done. It's crisp. Like all these gods look godly, right? Mm-hmm. They're supposed to look like they're perfection, right? They're the most perfect beings in the world. And it what was it? I think someone put at one point when this game originally came out, it's like Greek hunk simulator. It's like why is everybody so sexy all the time?
Because they're Greek gods.
Yep, everybody is so sexy. And it is just so fun to see and like experiment with things and try the different weapons. Like I've had a few where you go in and you get that right boon you need, and all of a sudden you just have an amazing
That's
run.
My favorite part about roguelites is like that one time when the stars all align and you have the perfect build and you're like, nothing is ever going to stop me ever again.
Right?
It feels so good when a run like that happens.
But yeah, so like it really, every time you go into a run, I mean, you're going to get choices on like items you can buy in run with in run gold. And it changes. Like, are you going to make this run to try to beat the game? Or are you going to make this run to just try to get the currency to use in between runs? Like you got to make those choices on the fly. And that's what makes it interesting. Cause even though you're doing essentially the same thing, each run feels so different and unique. I know that roguelites have grown on you and you found them interesting. I think you'll really like this. And the run nature of it means you can come in, do a run or two. And then if you want to play a little Baldur's Gate after that, you can play some Baldur's Gate. Like, I think as long as you divide your time between these two things, you will still be able to enjoy Baldur's Gate, but also enjoy this new fresh game. And I like that it is on the Switch because if our son wants to watch a movie like before bedtime, well, guess what? Pick up the Switch. You can play Hades.
Yeah, that was the other thing with Baldur's Gate. That wasn't exactly a play around your kid kind of game. So.
Yeah, I think there are some. I know there's settings to get rid of nudity if you end up sexing up some of the characters. There's get rid of I think you can get rid of some of the gore, but like it is definitely a mature game.
Yeah.
So we're responsible parents and we try to avoid showing that kind of stuff.
So this one, Hades, is like okay for all.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm pretty sure it's rated T for teen. Like, I mean, monsters fall apart, but it's not like Baldur's Gate level of detail, so it's okay. So that is a nice thing. That's why I love the Switch, right? You can just I don't need to dock it. I can just take it wherever I want in the house and play it, right?
Yes. Yep.
One more shout out for the Switch for portability. Smart move, Nintendo. Mm-hmm. How excited are you to try this game?
Oh gosh, I'd say like a 9 out of 10. This sounds just wonderful.
It's gonna.
I love Greek mythology
Yeah.
too. I love roguelites. Like it's
A lot of fun
very
things.
good.
Yeah,
Yes.
it definitely is. Pretty soon I'm just gonna be like, it's a roguelite, and you're like, get out of my way, I'm playing it right now.
What's it called? What do I play it on?
5 minutes in the episode, we're done, we're playing.
Stop typing. I gotta go.
All right, so we will get out of the studio, get you some time with Hades, and we will see you guys in a little bit.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Welcome back from the underworld.
I haven't made it out yet.
It's a tough escape, don't get me wrong.
I've made 17 attempts.
Okay.
I think you have 24 on yours.
On mine?
Yeah, I accidentally loaded it up and it only said 24 and I was kind of surprised at that.
Man, it feels like so many more.
I know. I figured you would have made way more than me.
I suppose, though, my runs did get a little longer once like the first Fury boss was the toughest, and once I got past that, then my runs get long, because then I go through the next stage of hell, and then the third stage of hell, and then there's a fourth stage, so my runs got a lot longer.
Sure.
So that's probably why it felt like a lot more.
Yeah, Megara the Fury keeps sending me back.
Megara.
Megara is really, really tough.
Yeah, she doesn't put up with your shit.
Yeah, it surprises me because so I started it up and like I got sucked in pretty quickly to this. I was enjoying it really fast. I mean, I love Greek mythology. The artwork is cool. And I think there's a lot of good systems going on in this game, a lot of good things to do while you're doing the main thing. For a roguelite game, that's perfection.
Lots of progression hooks.
Yes.
To hold you and
need
make
those
you go.
so that you don't feel bad about redoing your attempts over and over because Meg keeps killing you and sending you back to Hades.
Yeah, so your dad can make fun of you.
Yeah, your dad's not very nice to you in this game.
You can keep trying if you want, but it ain't gonna happen, boy. Pretty much.
He's basically like, stop dicking around and do something around here.
Yeah.
I mean,
help me out.
yeah. I feel like you get going in this game really, really well. And I didn't really hit a huge roadblock until I got to Meg over and over and over again. It was Meg, always annihilating me. She has so much health and her moves are really wild. It's funny to me how easily you can get going in this game, but like, and it's not too soon. It's at a good timing rate with the game, but you hit this roadblock and it is so hard to get past it. I have not yet gotten past her. I want to, and I feel like I get a little bit closer. I'm getting her health down closer. And one time I was really close, but I've kind of made it so that I have the best chance possible, and she's still wiping the floor with me.
She will punish you for your mistake for not remembering how her attacks work, like, or if you dash into the wrong area, or, like.
She has quite a variety of attacks.
Yeah, and there's certain times when you can't even hurt her, and when she's doing some of her, like, big attacks. It really is about patience the most with that fight the first time.
And moving as fast as possible.
Yeah, lots of dashing around and avoiding everything and then getting your hits in when you can. The hard part is like you see that opportunity, like, oh, I can get a few more hits in.
You really have to take an opportunity because there aren't many.
Yeah, but like I see, this is my problem with this, and I do the same thing when I in Dark Souls fights. When I'm fighting those bosses, it gives me a similar vibe. It's like, oh, I got an opportunity, just one more hit, just one more attack, and then that's the attack that gets me caught up in their, their pace. And then all of a sudden I'm losing a bunch of health. So I think the first time I beat her, I was just so patient. I took so long on the fight and I just like whittle away at her. And as painful as that was.
I mean, how long do you think that actually took? Because it's a long battle in and of itself.
I mean, it's hard because like now I can get through her fight in like 5 minutes. I think that
Oh my
time it
goodness,
was like
he just
10 or
dusted his
15.
shoulder off. And
Yeah,
just-
yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my goodness. 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think the world record for beating it on like the hardest difficulty is like 20 minutes. So don't like
Really?
Yeah, it's like stupid how fast this dude beat it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm a chump, everybody.
We're all chumps.
I spend a good half hour on a run to get killed by her.
Yeah.
I mean, at least.
Well, I'm not making it through the whole underworld. I'm just saying the fight itself.
Yeah, I know, which was impressive. And then he just made you look like a chump too,
Yeah,
apparently.
yeah.
But anyway, so that's how far I've gotten. I wish I had gotten farther. I'm not going to lie. We got a little bit sucked into Monster Hunter Rise Daybreak this week. Sunbreak, sorry.
Yeah.
It feels so
Same
good.
Yeah.
It
It's been a
feels
lot
so
of fun.
good. But I did hit this game pretty hard, especially the first week.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed coming back to it a few times this week. I liked the game a lot. And for the experience, like, you get different weapons that you can unlock slowly over time. And this is what I mean. Like, I keep getting killed at the same spot in this run every single time, but I am still leveling up, progressing in the game. I'm still able to have new weapons available to me. I can get the keys in the game to unlock them the more runs I do. You can get gemstones and then upgrade your area around you or areas in the underworld that you have a chance to run into that'll give you boosts and benefits. And then I really, really enjoy a couple of things. Like, they have this elixir that you can get.
The
on a run.
ambrosia, right?
Yes, thank you. If you grab those and then gift them to people, like the people in the underworld and even the gods that you meet, they will give you an artifact and it has a special power and you can choose one artifact to bring with you and it'll help you on your run. And they have all different kinds of abilities. I actually have been using the one from Skelly the Skellington.
I was about to say, did you get Skelly's one? Because
Yes.
it's like an extra death defiance.
It's an extra death defy.
Which is so nice.
That helps me out a lot because then I basically have 2 death defies on my run. So I've got 3 chances or 2.5. One of my death defies only gives me half health, you know? I try really, really hard to get to Meg without using a death defy.
Yep.
And she will still waste all 3 of my, it's a wild how strong she is. But that helps me out a lot. And the other cool part of it is the more that you carry those with you on your run, you level them up and they become more powerful over time.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's a huge variety of different ones, but it's exciting because you don't know who's going to give you what. And you, like, when you actually realize how many people you can give it to that'll give you things, just random characters that are hanging around.
Oh, yeah. Anybody you can talk to.
Anybody you can talk to, give them ambrosia, and they will give you something cool for it. And then if you keep giving them ambrosia, you actually seem to level up your relationship with them.
Yeah. Yep.
Which, that whole part of the game is really interesting too, because just the story itself and what's happening and who you talk to and what they say to you actually keeps you hooked that way as well, don't you think?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, even narrative hooks. Like, you find the fun little information.
There's
They'll
secrets
talk about
and mysteries.
Yeah, they'll talk about how they feel about other gods or other characters. They'll tell you secrets about their life. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, even like Medusa, who is essentially a floating Gorgon head
Yeah.
in the underworld. She's like the maid and she's super shy around you all the time and like runs away. But like, you hear more about her and like how she feels and about what she's doing. But she also doesn't want to talk about how hard her work is, or she loves it. I love my job. It's okay.
She's super overworked.
Yeah, she's always working.
Sad.
But I do enjoy that, and I love Greek mythology. I got a whole book of it, you know. And,
Yeah, we've always been fascinated by that. And the stories are wild. So it's cool to see it in a game. And it's mostly appropriate for pretty much most ages, you know. So it's not too bloody or gory or anything.
No.
A little bit, but not, you know, you're not going to have like a 5-year-old play it, but
Yeah.
you know, 10 and up should be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice too. And it introduces them into that whole thing. And I always love a game that can introduce you to something else in the world that you can go research more or find out more about if you're interested in it, because I think you're going to have the best chance of success with your storyline and your character creation and your dynamics between people if you're basing it off of something like that. It's so fun. And I don't know, as humans in this world, we have never gotten tired of Greek mythology.
No.
It's always fascinated people throughout so many years, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years. It's
just these stories and explanations of why things are the way they are, but also like these just fantastical stories of wild things that happen. Like, I mean, Greek mythology is kind of messed up. Like,
it is.
Oedipus complexes everywhere. Like, it's kind of nuts. How
it's kind of like the original Marvels, you know, like original superheroes.
Yeah, essentially. I guess we've always been fascinated by superpowered beings.
We all want to fly into the sun.
Yeah, right.
As far as gameplay goes, I really enjoyed the controls. I enjoy your moves. It's not overcomplicated, but it's not too simple. You have like the perfect variety. You have your casting that you can do.
Yep.
And then you have your dash. And as you get gifts from different gods, like you can upgrade all of these things to do different elemental attacks or things
boons.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and then you have your 2 different weapon attacks. And I've been running with the bow pretty much the whole time since I unlocked that. I really like the bow because I can get some range and some distance and stay away from people. Because a lot of these enemies, it's when you get close that it's a problem. Especially those really big chubby ghosts that just throw their whole body at you.
Yeah, the gluttons or whatever.
They can really move across the map. It's wild. You'd be like, oh, he isn't going to hit me. No, he always hits you every time. No matter how far away that dude is. I don't know how they do it. So getting some distance for me is very, very good. But with your different boons that you get, like you can upgrade your weapon attack to, I mean, if you get a gift from Zeus, you're going to electrify them. Aphrodite's going to inflict weak with her powers, you know, depending on what move you put them on. And then you have Dionysus and he'll make people drunk, like you said.
Yep.
There's so many.
Yeah, there's so a lot.
Many. It's really fun. It's funny what kind of pops up more regularly for me, but the one thing that I was really impressed with is, and I think this is important, what makes this game so good and well done is that I never thought that I had the same setup on a run. Not one time.
Yeah.
Because of chance and what pops up, but also the variety of skills that they offer you, because they offer you 3 at a time, and some are more rare than others, and some are even labeled as epic skills that they're offering you. You never have the same setup twice. It's always going to be different. Now, I'm going to throw some shade because Dicey Dungeons, that's why I don't like that game. That's why I got bored with it and tired of it and very frustrated with it because there was not enough variety in that game for the type of game that it is. The only way to keep people interested for a long period of time is to have enough variety that it's always going to feel a little bit different. You're always going to feel like you see something new. You get to try a new combo, and then you have that chance of like, oh, these things that I've collected are working out perfectly for me. I'm going to smash through this, right? That's exciting. That's fun. It's made really, really well that way. Very impressed by that.
Well, just, I mean, you're right. The amount of variables is insane because, yeah, sure, you're always going to have your dash. You're always going to have your cast. But your weapon has a main attack and a secondary attack, and how those gods' boons affect that can really change how you play. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite setups I ever had.
Yeah,
okay.
I was going to ask.
So, we didn't talk about all the different kinds of weapons. So you mind if I just run through them real quick
if you want to.
So you start out with the sword. You can get a shield, a spear, a couple of gloves, like claw gloves.
Yeah.
And
they reminded me of the Rabbit and Mario, Rabbit Mario's power gloves.
Yeah, just some beefy gloves. But the one that the last one you usually can unlock after you unlock everything else is essentially a gun. That's essentially what it is. There's a name for it, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like a battle rifle. It does a little, you shoot 3 pops, and then you have a clip that you have to reload after you do all your basic attacks, and then your alternate secondary attack lobs a little grenade, which explodes.
Okay.
So this is why I think you would really like it, because it gives you a range, but it's a lot more fast-paced attacking. You can come in like the bow and arrow. Your main attack is a little slow, and you got to be patient with it.
Yeah, but your special attack has such a great range on it, and it's really, really fast. And
Really good for groups.
I rely on that the most, actually, because if you're using that and dashing around, it's really hard to hit you. Mm-hmm. It works. I think that one just might be my favorite. Like, even as you're describing this other one that I don't have unlocked yet, I'm like, no, I'm going to stick with the bow. I'll try it for sure. But and I really, really like the bow. And most of the time when you're down to just a few strong enemies, like 2 or 3 in a room, you have the time to use your regular attack, charge it up, shoot them. And the nice thing is the auto aim on it a little bit when they're moving around, because you line up and then they move. It'll follow them most of the time.
So here's where things start getting a little crazier. And I don't think you've run into them. And I'm going to ask you, have you run into a dataless hammer yet?
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, the one that changes how your basic attacks work on your weapon?
Maybe not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
I don't think so. I must not have.
Yep. Okay.
If I don't know, then I probably didn't.
So you run into dataless hammers, which will change how your attacks for your weapon will do.
You can choose the doorway, and it's got the little hammer. Yeah, I've done that.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So one of the things for the gun is instead of being a 3-round burst, it'll be continuous, but you never have to reload again. I got Zeus's boon that turns my regular attack into a chain lightning attack. And anytime I'm in a room with a group full of enemies, it's just I'm killing everything in the room no matter what I'm hitting. I was able to get through all the main areas so much easier without losing health and getting to the bosses because of just those 2 things.
Yeah.
Like, it made my run. Then what I did is I got Ares, the god of war, on my secondary and my cast, which adds doom, which is basically after a few seconds, it does like a big burst of damage. Mm-hmm. So I set it up. So my secondary attack inflicted doom. My cast caused doom to go off, and I could just, that's how I would defeat bosses. I could do so much damage with that. And then I had a thing that just wiped everything. And that was like, that run was so good. I made it to the end and I died. It was like that much health on the final boss. And so, but like, since I got to see all that, then it helped me in future runs because I knew kind of what to do. But like, it was such a good setup that I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I love this thing. But then you go back in and you might get one of those things or 2 of those things, but not necessarily all of them. So like, I've never had that full setup again, but I've had other ones that work very well together. And it's just very interesting to see how everything intermingles. But that one sticks out in my head so hard because it worked so well for me.
That is really interesting. There's so many things, like, too, we didn't mention that you can get like a palm of power and you can upgrade a boon that you already have. And then there is the dataless hammer. I have run into that.
Yeah.
You talked about it. So it's just the only thing that's hard about this is you can't guess what you're going to run into or what you're going to be offered, and trying to make the best of what is given to you. But that's part of the fun of a game like this, the style of game. Because like you said, you just accidentally fell into something that worked so well together.
Yeah,
and
experiment.
It's so
you never know what you're going to get. And that's what's so interesting. Because like sometimes, like I said, I just kind of fell into it. I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. And all of a sudden I just got just the right things that it made such a good run. And it, like, when you feel like essentially a god, it makes you feel good. And then maybe the next run is rough, but then you find something new that like, oh, this is way more useful than I thought it was. You know. So I always really enjoyed that about this game. You never know what you're gonna get. Like, you never know.
And like, you can be doing your run and go into a chamber, and all of a sudden Hades is like really mad that you keep attempting to escape. And he decides, like, you know what, I'm gonna teach you a lesson. Absolutely overflows the room with enemies, and like, it literally says survive for 45 seconds, and believe me, it's hard. It annihilates your health. It's like, thanks, Dad. You know. But then you also have the other aspect of 2 different gods fighting with each other over you. And having to choose between which one you want. So whoever you pick to get a boon from, the other god gets offended and then sends people to attack you then and there
with like
too.
their element and
and it's usually extra hard.
Yep.
Right. The only thing is if you make it through, then you get another boon.
Yeah, they're like, let's let bygones be bygones,
Yeah.
and then they give you a boon.
Sorry, cousin. You know I was joking, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry I freaking tried to kill you for a second.
Again. I think there's like even more to this game that I haven't even discovered yet. There's some locked doors that I can't get into yet. There's, like I said, just narratively, there's some more secrets and stuff going on, and that is really a nice hook to it all. There are some gemstones that you can collect to level up your own powers too that will help a lot. I'm saving up for a couple things.
You want another Death Defiance, don't
you?
Yes, That's a big one.
4 Death Defiances. I will get through May. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I really loved it. I think it's a really, really good roguelike game. Like I said, there's such a drastic difference. Like, this is made exactly right. It really shows again, like I always compare in my head when I play games, like this is so good. All I think about is, wow, Dicey Dungeons really kind of sucked, didn't it? Like,
gosh dang it, just coming down hard on Dicey Dungeons.
No, it was so close. Like, there's things that I really liked about it, but the lack of variety, and I gotta say, like, I know that was an independent game designer and everything. He just really needed to put a little bit more into it, and it would have been so much better, because that game is super, super hard, but it's so boring trying to break through that wall that you just... I overplayed it maybe, but it is good to compare and see like why that one doesn't rate so high. This one rates a lot higher, even though the game style is somewhat similar. There's that special essence here that the other one just didn't have, you know?
Well, I think for me, it's that personal preference of Hades. No matter what, every time you do a run, you're acquiring the dark shards to give yourself in between upgrades. You're acquiring keys to unlock new weapons. You're acquiring ambrosia to get new trinkets. There's always something you gain, even if it's not enough to get something on one run.
You're getting closer.
You're getting closer to what you want to get. So there's always some progression in between runs. Dicey Dungeons is you start that run fresh every time, and it's only what you get in the run that matters.
And there's only 5 things to choose from.
Well,
so do a good job with this very limited variety.
I think with how difficult it is, the fact that you can't, if you can't get past something after a few tries, it just feels like it's an impossible hurdle for you to climb, because then you're also depending on the luck of the rolls at the same time.
A big part of this is I never felt like I went into the same chamber twice. I never felt like I fought the same group of enemies twice. Like, they did such a beautiful job of mixing that up. And I'm sure I did, right? Like, I know some of the layouts are the same or whatever, but they change it up so much and enough that you don't even realize it. Dicey Dungeons isn't like that. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing, is like the layout and the maps and the enemies and your abilities, like everything's the same over and over again. There's maybe 3, 4, 5 different situations. At that point, it's like, I've been through it all and I can't do it. Don't care anymore. This one, you feel like I can do it this time. And for a roguelike game, I think that's important. You need to have that aspect in there. Otherwise, nobody's going to want to play your game.
I always sometimes you just run into characters. You go down a path and you run into Sisyphus, the guy who's always pushing the boulder up the hill. You'll run into Thanatos, Death.
Yep.
You run into him, and then you do a little competition with him usually, and that's fun. And there's even more characters the further you go in that you run into sometimes. So
sometimes you get a surprise of oh, here's just a healing fountain.
Yep.
On this run.
Oh, yeah. On this one, you got lucky.
That's always the best. But, I mean, you can run into people that'll sell you stuff. You can just visit with them.
Sharon.
Give them some ambrosia, you know.
Or Karen. I think it's Karen. They're pronounced. It's CH, but
So that makes it more exciting, too, anyway. Because you don't know. It might be a room full of enemies. It might not be. There's like a 5% chance it might not be. And sometimes when you're down and out of your luck and that comes just in time, it feels so good. You're like, thank you, game.
Yeah. Oh man, I know that feeling.
Yep.
I feel like
really
lately I keep running into the healing fountain when I'm like full health, and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't
That's
need
always
this
a
right
bummer.
now.
But
What
you're
a
like,
waste.
I'm still glad I saw it though.
Can I save the? Yeah. Well, it's like it's one easy room. You get a pass this time. Oh,
That
my
is very
goodness.
appreciated.
Is there anything else that you really wanted to like talk about? Like anything particular that you really like a particular boon you really enjoyed, or like a god you thought was funny?
I actually really ended up liking Aphrodite's boons of weakness.
Yeah.
Especially on the dash. You make a big whirlpool of weakness around you when you dash. And then if you like dash away from an enemy, turn and backstab them, you're doing so much damage to them in that moment. And that really helped a lot. I really liked that. I thought being able to, like, once in a while, a portal to Chaos will open up. That was really cool. You get to go meet Chaos, and the boons from him are very much double-edged swords. And those are always really hard to choose from.
They are. Chaos boons are unique in this game in the fact that you usually get a tougher challenge for the next like 3 to 6 encounters you run into. But afterwards, you get like a big boon, which will like double the money and the gems that you get, or
double your attack damage.
Yeah, or every time you complete a chamber, you heal like 15% or something like that. Like it's all really useful. If you can
make it through, it will really make you OP.
It's so nice. But yeah, you got to pick like, can I handle this challenge?
Double the amount of enemies for the next 3 chambers that I go through.
Oh man, yeah. Like I've made a choice and it ended a run for me, and I made a choice and I got through and it made a run for me, you know? So it's like, oh, I loaded up this time.
And that again is chance. Like you never know where it's going to pop up or when it's going to pop up. And to go through the portal, you have to lose some of your health.
Yes.
A decent amount of it.
I always like when he pops up right away on your run, because it's like, okay, this is a completely fresh run.
That.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know the next encounters are going to be the easiest ones I'm going to run into.
Right.
So like I can accept the extra challenge here, and then also if it's like from then on you double whatever, then I have a lot more run to get to maximize the benefits, you know?
It's also interesting just to talk to Chaos, because from his perspective, he's like running everything and you're all just a bunch of little ants on a hill, basically. He's like, I don't even know what you guys are doing, because no matter what you try to work towards, I'm just gonna F it all up. You know, I love that. He's just like, yeah, that's cute, you know?
He like, you're just like a pet project. It's like, this is kind of interesting. Keep me entertained.
You're gods, but I am, you know, and
I'm the OG god, you know?
It is very interesting.
Yep.
So it was cool that they added that in there too. They did a decent job of adding in quite a few different characters. You've got Achilles in there as a ghost, and you can talk to him once in a while. And there's just fun little things like that.
Yes.
You know,
I
really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. And that person that said they made all the gods too sexy was absolutely correct. Like,
they're so sexy.
I'm not gonna lie. The main character, one red eye, one blue eye. I was like, ooh, that looks pretty cool. And he's got dark hair. I mean, but even Nyx, the goddess of night, I'm like, wow, she's fucking beautiful.
But I guess like that kind of tracks, because they're supposed to be like that. Essentially perfection, right? They're supposed to be the best versions.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't want to be Aphrodite. Keep that. I want to be
run around nude all the time.
Well, I do. She's comfortable.
Yeah, right. She's comfortable in her own skin. That's for sure.
But Nyx looks cooler.
Nyx has a cooler vibe for sure. Calm, cool, collected.
Yes.
Oh goodness.
The person I wish I could be.
Yeah. I'm excited to see how Hades 2 ends up panning out.
Do you know when that's releasing?
I think they're doing the same thing going in early access. I believe I mentioned that in the first half, and it's got to be soon. I think it's either this year or early next year. I have to double check and look it up, but it's happening soon. I don't feel like they need to change a lot, right? Because this game's really good. We just want more, but I'm interested to see what kind of changes they have in store to make it even more interesting.
Yeah, what they've added. They did a really good job with this first one.
Absolutely.
I really, really like it. The controls worked great. I never had any glitches or problems. Early access, I think, is a really, really good idea.
For the right kind of developer.
Let your players play your game and find all your bugs so that you can fix them. And then when it's released, and newbies like me come into it, it's totally enjoyable with no problems.
Yeah, it worked for Larian and Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, I know.
And even then there were still bugs, and they're still finding them, crashing. I think they're on their second big patch.
You know what? Okay, if we're gonna talk,
sudden shift.
If we're gonna talk about there's still bugs, but they're working on them, we also need to recognize how many things we can do in this game that don't have bugs in them. And I saw a video from a guy that explained he ran into a goblin camp with the Goblin King. He runs in, kills them all. That's the interaction he has, right? But his buddy went in there and read that he's a rogue. He snuck in, read the Goblin King's diary, found out he used to have an orange cat that he loved, found out about his mom. He had his druid in his party turned into the orange cat. He had the bard in his party disguise himself as that Goblin King's mom. And they hid in his room. And when the Goblin King entered, he was so overwhelmed by seeing his dead cat that he loved and his dead mom that he loved that he had a heart attack and died. All the other goblins dispersed because their king was dead now. And they literally just got to loot everything. This coding for this situation to happen is in this game.
The fact that they thought, hey, this might
Somebody
happen.
might do this. We have to make this possible. I really don't feel like when you can have that drastic of an experience in one small situation in this huge, huge game.
Yeah.
We can't complain about any bugs. Everybody shut the hell up. This game is amazing.
But do talk about them so Larian can fix them.
Well, yeah, tell them they'll fix them. But don't complain about it. Just say it nice, because that is amazing. I loved that story. I mean, we saw a guy, there's a wizard that turns you into a wheel of cheese, and he's just rolling around as a big piece of cheese.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That game is a whole nother level. We were all impressed by Tears of the Kingdom, but I think Baldur's Gate 3 just blew everything out of the water. I can't believe that game's even possible.
I definitely think after our current Monster Hunter Sunbreak binge that we're going through,
I do want to play more Baldur's Gate 3.
I think we'll go back to Baldur's Gate 3.
I'm not going to lie, though. I am so happy playing Sunbreak right now.
It's so good. Before we get into what we're our honorable mention, our else we're playing, I want to get your rating for Hades. What is your rating for Hades?
I didn't think about it till now. That was silly of me. I want to say 7.5.
Yeah.
And there's part of me that feels guilty, that's a little too low, but I would say 7.5 or 8.
You got to remember, this is purely your personal rating, how you feel.
Yeah.
Not you agree that this is a really good game, but this is how you feel about it with how far you've gotten in it.
Roguelites are funny because they can be big, but they're all still somewhat condensed, right?
Yes.
There's this one main thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
And even Monster Train, I love that game. That was a lot of fun. I adore Inscription. But I don't feel like they can really get... I think that's the thing. For me personally, am I going to rate it a 10 out of 10, even though I absolutely adore those games? And I come back to Inscription all the time. I have ever since you started me playing it. I don't think it can get a 10 out of 10. It isn't as complex and as big as a lot of other games that I feel deserve that score more. I think this one was done really, really well. I am super... Let's give it an 8. I am really impressed with it. I like the stories. I like the hooks.
The difficulty is a little tough at first.
I'm not even mad about the difficulty. I got frustrated with it at a point, but like I said, I kept going and I feel like I get a little closer all the time. And that's the thing. Dicey Dungeons, I hit such a wall with every different character. Mm-hmm. That even ones that I was just steamrolling on, I would get to a point where can't get past it, can't do it. And like you said, part of that is a chance and a roll of the dice, but part of it is just your game isn't balanced well. Like, it kind of sucks, and there's nothing else to do to make it feel like I can make it through this. I just got to play it for a million years to get that one good roll of the dice chance. Like, no, you know?
Yeah.
I need something to help me out a little bit more. And in Hades, you have that.
Yeah.
I really, 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 really enjoyed it, though. I think not everybody likes roguelites or is going to like that type of game.
Yeah.
I really enjoy them. I give it an 8 out of 10. I think I would come back and play it for sure. Like, I'd like to play it more.
Yeah.
I don't think it gave me that slow burn like Inscription did, though. Inscription really, like...
got in deep.
put a worm in my brain that's just kind of feeding, you know? This one is fun, though. You know what would be fun is if you could do, like, a 2-player mode.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
That would
and
be
maybe
a lot of fun.
maybe that's a thing that happens in Hades, too. Who knows?
That would be really cool. Then I would rate it higher even. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there are some like dungeon crawler roguelites that are multiplayer out there, and maybe we would be interested in trying that out sometime.
I mean, even like Demio is kind of like that a little bit.
Yeah,
you know?
more on the card game side than the action side.
Is.
Yeah.
But it is kind of a roguelite in a sense. Like, you never know what you're going to get. You got to level up.
Yeah, absolutely. It is.
And that's multiplayer, and honestly, that's when I enjoy it the most. I really love Demio too.
When you get to share those ridiculous things happening.
Yeah, and when you totally wreck or when you totally bomb, and having that other person there to laugh with you at it, or to, you know, just pull off something so sweet and you were there to see it, you know? Mm-hmm. You're like, yeah. And then when you finally beat that area and you feel so accomplished and you're both like leveling up, that's fun, right? I think that would make this game even better. That'd be cool. But I think it's great on its own. They did a wonderful job. I'm very impressed.
Yeah, 8 out of 10 we'll play again. And obviously what else we've been playing is pretty much just Monster Hunter, right? I don't think there's been, well, I've been playing some other things, but yeah, Monster Hunter. So good.
Finally got to try the expansion.
I know, we're digging
there's so many new monsters, and there's new armor to get and weapons to get and all these fun things to do. And now we've got that thing where you can unlock a follower and have them with you on your hunt.
That's kind of cool, I think.
Yeah, I don't really get it, but
well,
you like it.
You're
I'm like, I want to do it by myself.
Yeah,
or with you.
Yeah, exactly. You like to play with real people. Though I think it is kind of nice, especially for people who tend to play solo, to have other characters that are actually have like a decent weapon to make effects to distract the monster.
I do get it. I probably will try it at some point.
Yeah, it's worth a shot. Well, it's like we were on different schedules for, last couple weeks, and so I'm by myself, and it's like, I'll try these quests. They're solo player only, these specific ones.
You can't replace me with a CPU.
Oh, absolutely not. You and me work way too well together. But like, if I'm by myself and playing a quest that's specifically one player, I'm not going to be like, hey, Rose, let's play Monster Hunter. I'm going to play the single player quest while you do your thing. I'm going to do it when you're not around. But yeah, we've been playing that. That is so good. Got my entry level master rank set going.
I just want to say again, like, hopping into Monster Hunter Rise, I got back in the swing of it so fast. It all felt so good, so natural to me, and I enjoy it so much, and it gets me so excited. Like, I get so pumped to play that game again, and it is my favorite Monster Hunter. I love it so much. I think they did such a good job. I love Monster Hunter World too, but I think it is. Everything finally clicked and really came together with Monster Hunter Rise. And now, like, that is my baby to me in the Monster Hunter universe. Like, that is the one that I am going to hang on to for the rest of my life and replay and just adore.
Until Monster Hunter Rise 2.
I don't even want to be greedy and ask for another Monster Hunter yet, because I am enjoying this one so much. There's so much to do, which again makes me... another big thing to why I love these games so much. There's so much to do, you guys. You could play this game for years and never get bored or tired. Never complete it all. Absolutely adore it.
Very great.
Best game ever.
So yeah, I've been playing that, and then I've also been playing a new RPG that came out called Sea of Stars.
I've heard of that.
Yep, it came out on Xbox Game Pass, but I know you can get it on Steam. I think you can get it on other consoles as well. But it really feels, if you like RPGs at all, it reminds me of Chrono Trigger and Super Mario RPG. It's kind of those two almost mixed together. And the reason that it's like that is because how the game looks especially reminds me of Chrono Trigger, and how you move around in the overworld, and the enemies are out in the overworld, and then when you run into them, you get into a fight right there. There isn't the screen wipe, and then you're in the battle stage.
It's more seamless.
Yes, it's like, right there. It happens, and that's what's really
Arceus.
Yeah, like that. Yep, and that's how Chrono Trigger was. You'd run into the enemies, you just fight right there, and you have like a combo skills you can do with other characters in your party where you both do like an attack together. That's Chrono Trigger. And you have timed hits like Super Mario, where you have to time that hit to do more damage, right? Mm-hmm. Or time your defense to defend against damage. And even your special attacks can do that. The one girl, she is like this lunar solstice knight, and she can shoot essentially like a crescent moon energy, but every time it comes back to her, you have to smack it. And if you time it, you can just keep smacking that thing and hitting every single enemy over and over and over and over again. And you can do a hell of a lot of damage if you get going with it. So, and I'm not super far, and I'm excited to see like what more there is, what other characters, how they can combine. They do a lot of things I feel right in this game, and I'm excited to keep dipping into it and playing it.
Isn't it huge though?
I don't know how big I don't know how big it is. Yeah. But the other thing that's kind of nice is all your characters level up at the same time. So that's nice. You don't have individual level experience. There's just one bar that you see fill up every time you get into a fight. Everybody levels up. And then you also get a little like bonus round where you can choose to increase their magic attack, their regular attack, their health, or defense. You get some choices.
Sure.
So like there's all these things between two of my favorite RPGs I've played, and like this game is just like a combination of them. So it's brand new but nostalgic at the same time. It's very interesting as I'm playing it. So
that sounds wonderful.
I'm really having fun with it. So. And that's the only other main thing. I've been kind of just farting around with Legend of Dragoon a little bit, but that's just that I've beaten that game before, so it's like, yeah, okay, I talked about it before. But I think that's it, huh?
Do you know what gods do when there's loose screws?
What gods do when there's loose screws?
How would a god fix that?
I don't know.
They tighten them.
Oh, stupid wordplay ones get me.
I love those.
Because I'm like, you tighten a screw, and then I'm thinking,
why didn't you?
Because you're saying Titan like Titan, like the ones who killed fought the gods.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like Titan, like Whitey Tighties, TIGHT, And in my head that does. I thought. The right pronunciation, wrong word. That's, gosh dang it.
Thanks, English.
Oh, God. Why are you screwing me over, English? All right. I want to thank Brother Ray for our caricatures. I love them.
Thank you.
The art's wonderful. And I want to thank you, our listeners, for tuning in, checking out, and we appreciate you so, so much. Feel free to leave comments on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or even check out our TikTok. Throw some comments on there. I'd be happy to take any suggestions for games you might be interested in seeing Rose play. Yeah, that's it. I'm Matt.
I'm Rose.
And this has been Co-ople Mode. You keep gaming with your bestie. Ta-ta!